working okay in the back? Good, okay. Good, all right. So the underlying idea, and this is actually also a huge luxury for me because this is the first time in about 3 weeks of giving lectures every day, or 2 or 3 lectures a day, that I don't have a translator next to me and I have to wait after every sentence. I can actually just talk. It's a great feeling. So, but anyway, the basic feeling, basic idea actually, in the World Peace Diet is to help us understand at a deeper level the consequences of animal agriculture. So it's a dual message in many ways. So, you know, on one hand, we're talking about the really horrific and devastating impact of animal agriculture on both the outer world and the inner world. And on the other hand, we're talking about this enormous good news, essentially, which is that we can positively transform our society, and not just our society, but our relationship really with nature, with animals, with each other, and our own health and our own inner world by moving to a plant-based way of living. We call that vegan living, perhaps, but as we move in that direction, as we understand these ideas, the impact is enormous. It goes right to the roots, actually, of the problems that we're having. And the basic idea is that all of this is kind of covered up. It's hidden. We're taught basically to look everywhere but on our plates for the answer to the dilemmas that we're having. So the basic idea is that if we look on our plates, look at our, on the food that we're eating every day, it's the greatest adventure that we can take, actually, as human beings alive on this planet right now, in terms of an adventure of awakening, of empowerment, of contributing to the healing of our world. So that's a pretty strong claim, but the underlying idea is that we have, for example, we talk about health, right? We're talking about health, there's at least 4 other types of health besides our physical health, right? We all want to be physically healthy, that's a great thing. There's an old saying by Albert Schweitzer, he said, the key to happiness is good health and a short memory, right? So I don't know about the short memory part, but good health is really a key to happiness. If we have vibrant, radiant physical health, that's enormously helpful to us. However, that's only one dimension of health. We also, if we have physical health, we also want to have psychological health, right? We want to have a healthy mind and clarity and awareness. So that's another. And then a third type of health is also essential, is what I call spiritual health, ethical health, having a life that's in alignment with a higher purpose. So that's 3 types, and then there's a 4th type of health that I think is essential also, which is cultural health. To live in a healthy society is very important for us as human beings, to have healthy relationships with other people and have a foundation for those healthy relationships. And then a 5th type of health, really the foundation of all of these, is having a healthy earth, having healthy ecosystems, having healthy forests and oceans and rivers and soil and wildlife and so forth. And so the thing we have to really understand clearly, and we're not taught this, we don't have a conversation really about this that's effective, is that animal agriculture, herding animals, which is basically owning them as property for food, enslaving them, killing them, eating them, that practice, which pervades our world, is devastating to all 5 types of health. It destroys all 5 types of health. We have to really understand this. Have no delusions that we can have a healthy world, earth, or society, or psyche, or body, or spirit if we're taking out our wallets and paying people to stab and abuse animals. Especially today, when we have a population of 7.5 billion people, resources are very precious. We have a lot of people on a relatively small planet, and feeding that many billions of animals every day and killing and slaughtering them is such an ocean of violence and suffering. And the important thing to understand is that it's completely unnecessary. It's not at all necessary. This is the great liberating good news of the vegan movement, is that this whole system of violence and abuse and devastation of animals, ecosystems, and hungry people and future generation is unnecessary. It's obsolete. We don't have to be angry at at past generations for passing this on to us. They did the best they could. They thought they were doing a good thing. But for us to continue doing this now, when we know much better, is ridiculous. It's just a habit. It's a fear people have. We all have. It's understandable. We don't want to change. But if we're going to have a future, we need to actually understand this and make the change. So the good news is that the change is delicious. You know, let's have a hand for my wonderful wife, Madeline. She's right here. Thank you. She's from Switzerland. We've been traveling together. She's a visionary artist, and normally when I'm speaking, there's all these paintings by her of animals behind me. So people don't, instead of having to look at me, they can look at Madeline's paintings, which is probably a lot better. But we don't have any. We're traveling, so we don't have any. We sold them all in Taiwan. But the basic idea is that the food it gets better and better. You know, for me, I've been a vegan now for 36 years, since 1980, and I have to say that every day the food gets even better. It's a foundation, really, of actually opening to and enjoying food at a deeper level, where we're not sort of uneasy at a deep level that the food causes abuse and suffering to other living beings, and that just creates a whole other level of enjoyment. So the underlying idea is that all of the cultures in the world transmit values from generation to generation, right? We have certain rituals in place that transmit values and norms and mores from parents to offspring. This is basically what happens. And anthropologists understand that the primary way that this is done is through the meal rituals, the meals. When we get together and eat food, however we do it, in families or in larger gatherings with relatives or communities and church or wherever it is, this is how we as little infants learn at a very deep level the underlying deep attitudes about our relationships with each other, with animals, with the earth, with nature, with the universe, and so forth. And so that's why looking deeply into our meal rituals, into the foods we're actually eating, is the greatest adventure of self-understanding, because by looking deeply into our meals, we're actually looking deeply into our society, and since we're, in many ways, all of us are products of our society, we're looking deeply into ourselves, into our own attitudes. And we can actually begin to understand why we have the problems we're having, and also how we can solve them. And so the basic idea is that the foods that we're compelled to eat are not in our best interest. When we leave here and we go out into the world and we see people going into stores, going into restaurants, taking out their wallets, and this is the voting machine, right? This is our voting machine. These votes do get counted. I'm not sure about the other votes anymore, especially in the United States, but if they really get counted or not, I don't know. But these votes do get counted. When we take out our wallet and we pay money, we're telling people, systems, to do that again. I mean, it's going to happen again. If I gave my wallet and paid for meat, dairy products, and eggs, I'm paying someone somewhere to impregnate animals against their will, to steal their babies, to cut their throats, and this is what I'm paying for. So I'm not only paying for it, but of course then I'm also eating it. But the basic idea is that when we leave here and we go out into the world and we see people engaging in that behavior of voting for abuse and killing of other beings, there's only one reason anyone does that, and that one reason is we're following orders. That's it. That's the only reason anyone eats meat, dairy products, and eggs, is because we're following orders. We're just doing what we've been told to do. We're all essentially born into communities where from the time we're little tiny infants, we're compelled to witness and also participate in these meals, these mealtime rituals, where we're eating the flesh and secretions of abused animals. And so this is something we're just taught to do, and the foods themselves, as I said, are not in our best interest, but at a deeper level, the attitudes and the consciousness also of this is not in our best interest. And so when we begin to understand this at a deeper level, I think then we can begin to really have a foundation that's solid.